take a look at maybe some of the biggest games of the weekend, ones that Lisa and I are going to keep a very special close eye on. Angel City versus North Carolina Courage. You all can find that one on CBS Sports Network. Lisa, Angel City hosting a bank, hosting at the bank. It's going to be a little bit of a different vibe in this one. What are you feeling out of this match and why?
This is a huge game for so many different reasons. The 10th year in the NWSL, expansion side, Angel City getting to host at Bank of California Arena. I believe that's what it's called, for the very first time against a team in North Carolina Courage that throughout this Challenge Cup has done extremely well on their run to the top of the East standings and making their way throughout the Challenge Cup and going forward into the semifinals. But Angel City hosting this, it's a nightcap game, 10:30 Eastern. It's on big CBS. So we've got the superstars covering it that we love to see. I know Marissa Pilla and Lori Lindsay, they flew out of Philly this morning to make their way to LA to cover this one. This is the first huge test for Angel City on the marketing side of things, right? There's been so much, I'm going to call it hoopla, leading up to this, because the announcement of the team, the investors that they've got behind their brand, playing at Bank of California Stadium, playing against North Carolina Courage, playing at home with Christian Press. There's a lot riding on this. There's been tickets that have been sold for this game for weeks and months, and it's the culmination of all of this happening. When you look at the soccer aspect of it, that has to come into play, but there's so much off the pitch that also comes into this, because North Carolina is a team that is now going into this type of environment that the people of LA and the people of California are so hyped for this match that it is changing the tide for this game, honestly. So when we look into the soccer of it a little bit, Angel City, I'm hoping they can ride the momentum that they had ending their Challenge Cup run. They got their very first win over Portland Thorns, but defensively, Angel City has not been sound. They conceded 13 goals throughout the Challenge Cup. That was tied for the most out of any team in the Challenge Cup. North Carolina, they were a very hot team in the Challenge Cup. They're fighting in the playoffs. They have a semifinal match on Wednesday, and then they're hoping to play in the Cup final on Saturday. So this is one of the biggest things we have to talk about this weekend, because 4 of these NWSL teams are still competing in the Challenge Cup playoffs. And how do coaches manage player minutes and restrictions and making sure they can secure 3 points for the regular season, which means so much, but also continue their Challenge Cup run. If you've made it this far, you want to go all the way and win the cup. This is going to be a very open game. North Carolina has proven that they can score. They're averaging 2 goals a game throughout the Challenge Cup, and Angel City defensively, they're not that sound. So I think North Carolina is going to bring it. They're going to ride this wave that they've come off of in the Challenge Cup, but we need big players to step up for both of these sides, because all eyes are going to be on this game completely. Christian Press needs to get a goal in the run of play for Angel City. Can you imagine that arena and that stadium if that happens?
Listen, can I imagine it? Yes. But does that mean I still want to literally see it in front of my face happening? 100%. When I'm looking at this one, I hear you on all that. Certain players got to step on up on each side of the pitch here. I'm also looking at North Carolina Courage because they've got a semifinal in the Challenge Cup on the horizon. After this, we're recording this. We're live with our homies here and talking about it. So we're doing this ahead of, getting, availability reports, getting a look at a fresh, IR in terms of who's available, who's not, who might be held or who might not be withheld. When I'm thinking about picks in this one, Lisa, I don't know though. I'm struggling in this one. I don't know if there's going to be a full-on winner, or full-on loser. I'm a little bit curious if maybe Angel City is going to be motivated by their final performance there, which it's kind of felt like finally a full 90-minute performance from this team with the personnel that they had out on the pitch. But unsure about the status of Simone Charlie and what that's going to look like there, because the attack was looking really nice when we saw some really good interchange between, Charlie, Press, McCaskill getting into the mix as well. June Endo really kind of thriving as well alongside the, that other duo there. So I'm a little bit curious. I feel somewhere where I think maybe I want to say this is going to be a draw. in some sense. But I think, I'm going to go bold here and say that maybe Angel City shock some folks and get a win against North Carolina.
I'm inking that in my notebook. I like that. I think this game is going to be really telling of what we're going to see from Angel City for the rest of the year. I just think that the momentum that North Carolina has right now with Caroline getting her first start, playing significant minutes, her partnership with Dabinia for North Carolina, the play that North Carolina has done and the competition that they've faced in their East region throughout the Challenge Cup has been tough competition against Washington Spirit, who also finds themselves in the Challenge Cup postseason. I give the win to North Carolina. I think they're going to take this one, but
Yeah.
I want goals from both sides of these
Yeah.
teams, honestly.
I feel you 100%. I think you're looking at North Carolina, and I'm with you. I felt a little bit more secure in being like, yeah, like it's going to be North Carolina, and I'm, us, we're ready to come on here and I'll talk about how we're wrong, and so I'm ready to be proven wrong if North Carolina comes out and does what they do. I don't think I've chosen against North Carolina to date in this one, but we'll have to go back and double check that. But I would love to see some wild scenes out of Angel City, and hopefully the person on the pitch can deliver on this day. Let's take a look at another match that we're considering as one of the biggest matches of the weekend. We are going to be keeping an absolute close eye on Washington Spirit versus OL Reign. They will be kicking off their regular season on May 1st, Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern in Audi Field. And then on the horizon is going to be their semifinal matchup for Challenge Cup. So there were a lot of moving parts leading up to this weekend. And ultimately, when we had chatted a little bit about the dilemma in one of our previous episodes during our news and notes segment, when the match was initially slated for Segra Field, part of maybe that very small kind of glass half full perspective was that despite OL Reign being the number one Challenge Cup semifinal seed, they were unable to have an appropriate facility to host and in their home field. So the next thing was to look elsewhere. And then unfortunately, they're going to be on the road. And so maybe the silver lining within this was like, since they're already going to be playing a regular season fixture against each other, why not just stay in the same region to save a little bit of travel on the body? So this regular season match is going to be kicking off the official regular season for both of these teams at Audi Field, and then they will be staying in the area for their semifinal match on May 4th. When we're looking at just the regular season, though, Lisa, it's hard to maybe break away and say that these two teams are preparing differently for different types of scenarios, because I think if you're players on either side of the team here and you're looking at the schedule ahead of you, you want to win this game. And quite frankly, these I think are the two heavy hitters that so many of us have our eyes on during 2022. Washington Spirit are the reigning 2021 NWSL champions, and you got OL Reign just racking up results.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good one. Who do you got in this one? Why?
This is my biggest game to watch out of all weekend, perhaps throughout the Challenge Cup, because as you mentioned, they play this weekend on Sunday and then they play again on Wednesday. That's a very quick turnaround, especially to play against the exact same opponent. So I'm going to take a little trip down memory lane here just to refresh everyone's memories about these two sides. Washington Spirit are unbeaten in their last 18 games in all competitions. Now, there were 2 forfeit losses in that span, but I'm going to overlook those. And this is all under Chris Ward as well, the acting head coach from 2021, who is now the head coach of OL Reign. The last 3 times these two teams have played, Washington has swept 3 straight wins against OL Reign, including a 2-1 road win in last season's NWSL playoff. So recent history, Washington Spirit has the upper hand over OL Reign. Ashley Hatch is coming off a brace in the last match that Spirit had against North Carolina Courage. Allie Watt also got on the scoreboard for OL Reign in their last match against San Diego. So we're starting to see different pieces come together. Specifically, when we look at this OL Reign side, Allie Watt getting a goal, that's huge. A player that has been technically in the league for a while, suffered some injuries, and this is a huge year for Allie Watt to see if she can make a big impact, not only with the team, but also with OL Reign and her play in the NWSL. Getting that first goal is off to a huge start. There's so much that it's so hard to separate between the Challenge Cup semifinal and this regular season game. You said it though, both teams want to get a win. I think the energy that we've seen from Washington Spirit has just grown and grown and grown. They snuck away with a tie against North Carolina in their last match, but going up against OL Reign, they're playing at home at Audi Field. They don't have to travel. They get to sleep in their own beds. I think the off the field factors play so much into this. OL Reign not supposedly being the number one in the Challenge Cup, but not being able to host, that plays a factor in this. I honestly am going to go with the draw in this match between Washington and OL Reign.
Music to my ears, but let me tell you why. Because the reason why I didn't want to go maybe like draw in that first biggest match pick that we made was because I'm saving my draw for this one. I'm looking at these two teams, and I just think that they match up against each other incredibly well. And while I want to see a really strong match, opening weekend match for the regular season between these two sides, I just think that they are keeping in consideration the week ahead that they have in front of them. And the fact that there's a Challenge Cup semifinal that will be taking place between the two of them as well. I'm not saying that they want to maybe hold the cards or not show as much, but this is early. This is still very, very early scenes for many of these teams. We've heard a lot from players and coaches throughout Challenge Cup that the fact of the matter is Challenge Cup coming out of a preseason and then placed in front of a regular season still has a little bit of that concept in your brain of a bit of a preseason vibe in terms of the tournament that it is. So these are still beginning stages and early stages for teams to kind of iron out the things that they want to iron out and sort of forming and their identities moving forward for 2022. So while I'm excited for this matchup, I really do think it might shake out in the draw. I'm hopeful that it might be a little bit of a shootout, but we'll see. We'll see. Maybe it could be narrow as well.
I'm hoping for a shootout in this one too. As people in our chat are reminding me and reminiscing, I love it. If you're in the chat, drop your predictions. Let us know who you have for all of these matches. But Washington has conceded a lot of goals first throughout this Challenge Cup. And against a team like OL Reign, who scored 3 goals in 14 minutes a few weeks ago, OL Reign comes out really strong. So I would not be surprised if at halftime, OL Reign is winning 2-0 even. That's a pretty big margin. I honestly see that, but I still see a draw at the end of it.
How we do this? You want we both want the shootout. You're giving really good arguments for kind of a goal fest of a draw. So I'm gonna give you like the multi-goal draw. I'm gonna stay with the draw, but I'll go like narrow draw. So we'll see. We'll try to like put a different angle and spin on it as well. So we got to do the recap and maybe talk about it. We'll see what was going on. But watch because we chose a draw. It's gonna be like a completely different turnout. Watch us put the jinx on it and see what happened. But there's something about these two teams, I think, going up together. I don't know if folks watching, if maybe they look at these two teams and think this right here is a rivalry, but I like the history between these two sides. I mean, we've got some history between them going back way back in the beginning stages of NWSL. This is when they do meet head to head in the Challenge Cup. It's not going to be the first time that they've met in a kind of a semi-final experience. And this Washington Spirit side ended OL Reign's impressive second half season run just last year. And I'm sure that is fresh in the franchise's mind as well. And the team were disappointed to not be able to move further into the playoffs there, especially as they had home field advantage. So home field advantage is not something that's necessarily been this type of X factor, like game-changing kind of thing for the Reign when they've gone up to the Spirit before in the past. And I'm thinking about even in those early years of NWSL when there were semifinal playoffs and the Reign were eliminated or had to go face-to-face with the Spirit down the stretch of some things as well. So home field has not maybe always been the best scenario for OL Reign. So maybe that's something that's going to change as well. Maybe the concept of pressure on the local team might be there as well. So we'll see.